Jason Marsden, me, Gray Delisle, and Kat Susi.
Nice.
So, I mean, and that was, I believe, my first, like, series where I was a regular on the show. And it was a great group to be with. Doug Langdale was the creator of the show. And not a lot of people mention it for some reason. I mean, maybe just because it was lumped in with a bunch of other Saturday morning shows, Recess and all that stuff. People have fond memories, but nobody really noticed how good it was. I mean, that show just had like a lot of heart. And as far as Static, that was, a lot more people, at least now, are remembering that show. As a comic book guy, that show was really significant to me because I just love having, you know, not to get too political, but a black superhero who didn't have black in his name. You know, they did Panther right, but he's still, and it's like, and technically a Black Panther is a thing, unlike a Black Goliath. Like, there ain't no Black Goliath, that's just a Goliath, and you telling everybody he's black. We can see he's black. That's like somebody with a Camaro who has a license plate that says Camaro. It's not necessary. But Static was, to me, a high point. One, it was a really great, well-written show, and it was relatable. Basically, to me, it's Spider-Man, but without the neurosis. You know, he's got the powers, he feels responsible, and he's still got to get his homework done. And it was where I first met Dwayne McDuffie, who was he co-created the character in the comics, and in fact created the comic book line that Static came from, Milestone Comics. And Dwayne was just absolutely brilliant, and then went on to become one of the architects of the Justice League series, as well as Ben 10 and so many other amazing things. But yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there an actual baby?
No, it's fake!
But I love the fact that you felt the need to bring it with you to the mic.
Anyway, I would like to...
You can bed it down, right?
There we go.
Nice.
Thank you. You're so sweet. Let me get my thoughts collected.
Ooh, listen to that, folks. Somebody's trying to get a voiceover job.
No. You really think I could?
Listen to that. That's like that classic sort of Pam Adlon, Cree Summer sort of like boy voice, right?
Actually, people have told me that I sound like Naruto or Ash Ketchum.
Nice.
Can you guys hear it? Seriously, can you guys hear it? Really? Oh gosh. No, wait. Alright. First, I would like to thank you for being a big part of my childhood, as well as many of the people here who had grew up with Samurai Jack, Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends, and Static Shock.
Don't thank me. You guys are the ones who turned on the TV.
That's true.
Although a couple of houses I did sneak in and set the channel.
And I do have a question. How did you feel about the ending of Samurai Jack, the fifth series? I know a lot of people hated it, and myself included.
Did you hate it, or did you hate the way it made you feel?
I don't know, because to be honest, please don't laugh at me for this, but when I was young...
You had a boyfriend from ancient Japan?
No. Nice joke though. I kind of like looked up to Samurai Jack, like a big brother sort of thing, and as I got older, I kind of developed a crush on him. And when
You should be happy she disappeared! He's still on the market!
No! I mean, at first I was like, okay, I don't know about this chick. What's going on here? And then
You were anti-shipping?
No, well, at first.
Okay.
But as I saw them, like, they're getting along and all this stuff, and I'm like, oh, that's kind of cute. And then they kissed. I'm like, okay, I ship them so. And then she disappears. It's like, okay, Adult Swim. What the heck was that? You jerks! You just ruined his life. Ugh.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
No, the thing was, when we started the series, I didn't ask Gendy what the ending was. I asked him, like, do you have an idea? He's like, oh yeah. And he said, it's gonna make you cry.
It did.
Me too.
And if I may, I actually do have a little drawing for you.
Oh, thank you. Is it in there? It's a baby. It's a drawing of a baby. That's weird. Oh, it's good. It says, I tried drawing Samurai Jack's sword. I'm sorry if it looks funny. Is that okay? Thank you. You want it back? But wait, to your point about the ending, as somebody who sympathized with the character and went through a lot of the emotions that Jack went through, it broke my heart to see him lose the one love of his life. But afterwards I stopped and I thought about it. I'm like, okay, let's say it went the other way. They went back in time, defeated Aku. His family's free. They're getting married. Oh, look, there's the guy who trained him in Egypt. They're all coming to the wedding. Yay, and there's a wedding. And they're moved to a palace and have a baby. What the fuck? What ending is that? That is not the ending of this show. This entire series, Samurai Jack, has been about sacrifice. Like, for 4 seasons, how come he never made it back? Because every time he had a chance, he gave it up for someone else. And the thing is, it was sort of fitting that... You guys hear that?
Sorry.
Oh,
Another.
got it. It was fitting that the only way he was able to fulfill the mission that he was basically born for was through her sacrifice. You know, he did all this sacrificing. In fact, that mission almost broke his mind. It did break his mind. But she helped him. He helped her. But it cost her her existence. And to me, yes, it is heartbreaking, but it is also fitting. And, you know, to the people who say they hate it and Gendy did it wrong, I'm like, if he made you feel that much, then he did something right. Wow, the line's getting big. What's your name? Thank you, Samantha. Oh my God, it is a real baby! She hasn't fed it all day! She just threw fries in there. That's weird. I'm sorry. Sorry. Next question. Hi.
So, my question is about Static. First off, like every kid in the early 2000s that watched the WB for Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh, Static Shock was on, and I was like, okay. And I did not, like every other kid in the 90s, Batman was on, I turned it on. As a girl who grew up loving Sailor Moon for the girl power aspect of the superhero, I learned to like superheroes in general. My question is, what do you think makes Static different from any other superhero besides the fact that he's African American? What is it that makes him, do you think, that makes him different from Spider-Man or Batman or Pikachu? Because that's basically what he is. He's a black Pikachu. He's got the basic background.
Right.
Lost family member, his mother passed away. That episode kills me every damn time. And and it's the basic routine. He's got a best friend who goes to school. He has superheroes. He's got to avoid his annoying brat sister who ends up finding out about his secret anyway, and his dad who ends up finding out about his secret anyway.
Right.
What makes him? Oh, seriously?
The internet is moving faster and faster.
Apparently. What do you think makes him stand out from every other hero?
Honestly, you just said it without thinking. There is tragedy in his life, but it is not the source of his power. It's not tied to his superhero-ness. He's not a hero because, I mean, Batman is my totem, hero. But basically, Batman is acting out his childhood trauma every single night. He's crazy. Static isn't crazy or tortured. He's somebody who had, like all of us, a loss.
But he moves on. And he takes his loss and the experience he had with the Bang Baby syndrome and uses it for good.
And to me, the reason Static is so relatable is because it is not operatic tragedy. It's just a guy who's doing the right thing.
Who took a bad hit and turned it positive.
Right.
You could say he positively charged his life.
Thank you.
Speaking of which, I got a quick piece of paper for that.
Oh. Thank you.
Thanks.
Static. What's up?
What's up, Jack?
Wait, which Jack? You talking about Jack? Or are you talking about Jack?
Which the exact Jack you just said? Well, my main question is, were you excited to hear that Samurai Jack was making a comeback?
I was excited and frightened because they announced it before anybody had ever called me, my agents, and it was the same year that Cartoon Network had announced the Powerpuff Girls reboot with none of the original Powerpuff Girls. Which, I get sometimes, you want to put your own spin on it, but wait, why'd you rehire all the guys? Is that a little weird?
Yes.
Anyway, I still work for them, so I shut up. But no, I didn't know if I was going to be a part of it. I mean, I was really, really excited that the show was finally going to get a conclusion, but basically, Gendy's not on any social media, and I didn't have his number, so I found his wife on Facebook. I'm like, hey, I hear the show's coming back. What's up? It's like, of course. Here, call Gendy. And it turned out I did have a job. No, it was amazing. That episode where he goes on the spirit journey to find his sword.
Awesome.
Yeah. I want every single one of those backgrounds framed in my house. It's just beautiful. Sorry, man. Thank you. Thank you for your question.
You are welcome.
Phil LaMarr.
Who? What? Oh.
No.
Yes, that's me.
I nearly had tears in my eyes when I finally see you in the face.
That's because I wear onion body spray.
Yeah, that's true. But you're part of my childhood, and you have voice actors and actors.
Thank you.
All right, and my question is, do you know the episode on season 2, 13, Aku's Fairy Tale?
Yes.
Oh my God. It talks about Samurai Jack. He's a bad guy, and to those children he can bring up, and he talks about the 3 bears and Samurai Jack crashing and trash everything.
The episode we now call the fake news episode. Yeah.
Yeah. How do you feel about that when you have to say, "Oh yeah"? Like that doesn't sound fitting.
No, but that's what was fun about it. I mean, there were a lot of episodes where Jack is very much Jack. He is calm. He is in control. And then every once in a while, they throw a curve in there, like the chicken episode, the fairy tale episode. And the fairy tale episode is great because it takes you in a completely different direction, but completely justifies it. It's like, no, this seems weird, and he's doing things out of character because it's a cool's version of him. You know?
Yeah.
So yeah, I love that episode.
Yeah. All right, then that's
Thank you, man. Very much.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm all right. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for being here. I just want to ask you, how did you come up with Virgil's voice, Static Shock? How'd you come up with that?
It's basically just me at 14. Maybe a little higher, because I remember when I was a kid across the street from me had a tape recorder. And exactly. Like, we spent hours playing with a tape recorder. We would like just, all right, press, okay, hey, we're talking, is it on? It's listen, are you listening? And at one point we would take, there was like a kids magazine that had commercial parodies, and I would read the announcer voice. And I always thought I was doing this really deep announcer voice, but I found the tape years later as an adult and played it. It's like, and now a word from our sponsor. Like, I thought that was much deeper when I was 14. But no, basically Static is just, you know, how I would have sounded back then, if I had electrical powers. That's the good thing about electrical powers, it doesn't change your voice.
And would you be able to say his line, I'm gonna put a shock to your system?
The name's The name's Static, and I put a shock to your system.
Hello. Hey. First, I just want to thank you for giving voice and life to a bunch of actual real black superheroes. That means a lot to me. I'm honored to talk to you right now. But I wanted to call attention to when I played Metal Gear Solid 2 for the first time, and I see this vampire on the screen, and it says Phil LaMarr, and I'm like, the guy from Mad TV? It's the first time I encountered your voice acting. So do you have any stories about that experience? Can you tell me about it?
Well, I was a huge fan of the first Metal Gear game, which, for you young kids, you don't understand. It was a game changer. Because everything at that point was like first-person shooters, just like, and basically you could win the game just by keeping your finger on the button and blasting everything in your way until Metal Gear came along. Like, if you just tried to shoot all of the guards, you got your ass handed to you. If you did not use stealth, if you did not use strategy, and it was a game changer. It's like, wow, and it was so cinematic. I was in love with it. I actually begged to audition for that game, and I knew the woman who was voice directing, Chris Zimmerman, from some Cartoon Network shows, and you know, I said, what can I, and I think I went in originally to audition for some like random smaller, like the DARPA chief or something, I don't even know. But then she said, you know, we've got this other character, we've been having a hard time, you know, finding a voice for him. You want to give it a try? I'm like, yeah, sure, what is it? It's like, well, he's sort of a vampire, but maybe not really a vampire. And we wanted him to sound, you know, Eastern European, but not like typical, you know, Dracula, vampire, Eastern, you know, Romanian type of thing. You know, and, you know, no blah blah, I don't say blah blah. And he's got sort of, you know, a relationship with, you know, Queen Fortune, but he's kind of ambisexual. Like, okay, so, kind of vampire, kind of European, kind of bisexual. Okay. And basically, I ignored most of that and just thought to myself, like, okay, well, let's say he is a vampire. If you're a vampire, you don't need to breathe. So, what would a voice that someone who's not what would the voice of someone who's not breathing sound like? So I tried to take as much air as I could out of it,
that it became a voice like this.
And I knew I was on the right track when Chris goes, ew! And yeah, so it was basically just stop breathing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, how are you?
I'm fine, how are you?
I'm a little nervous.
No, I get it.
Okay, a couple of questions, but first of all, you are like one of my favorite OG voice actors, and a fan from when you were like on Mad TV, way back when, if everybody
You were too young to be watching.
I still watched it, okay, it was great, all the funny
YouTube.
Yeah, no, I watched it for real, it was great. But it is such an honor for you to be here, and all the great voices you do.
Thank you.
And, a little nervous, shaky, but some of my favorite, like Samurai Jack, and video game wise, my favorite is in Justice. Have anybody heard of that?
Wait, Injustice?
Justice, Gods Among Us, 1 and 2.
Where I was the voice of Aquaman.
And Green Lantern.
I am the king of Atlantis.
And Green Lantern.
Well, of course, everybody knows that voice.
Yes.
Although the fun part is when because I play that game a lot.
Yes.
And I will pick both of my characters to face off against each other.
Yeah. But
stand down, Aquaman. You've betrayed your city.
Oh my God. Yes.
Atlantis will not kneel to you or anyone.
Oh my goodness. This is average question, but what was it like to voice those two characters and all the other ones from down the line?
Well, it was interesting because basically I have Greg Weisman of Young Justice to thank for Injustice. Young Justice fans?
Yep.
Season 3 on its way. And because he cast me as Aquaman in that show.
Right.
And I think when they were putting together the Injustice cast, they sort of picked from their favorite iterations of the various characters. You know, they took some heroes, some voice actors from the original Justice League series, and some from, various, and some were new. But I think the fact that I got picked to play Aquaman for that was based on Young Justice. Because Greg created the first cool version of Aquaman.
Yeah, I play Aquaman a little bit, and he's cool and all, but I'm really hard at using him. But I use Green Lantern, but as
Really?
John Stewart.
Oh, come on, man. That trident jab thing?
I love that.
You cannot beat that.
I love that.
Best cheap move in the game.
Yes, I love it. Like I said, all-time favorite, one of my favorite voice actors, and another one I have on a different note, Steve Bloom.
Oh, God, yeah.
Who everybody knows, hopefully.
Who is also Hal Jordan, right there.
Oh, yes, I forgot about that, yes. One of my favorites.
Did you just pan your camera over to the screen?
Yes, I did. But,
your battery gonna die, you ain't have no storage left.
I gotta charge it. But, you and Steve Bloom, all-time favorites. From my childhood, from him playing Tom from Tsunami. Just amazing. You guys, both of you, are my childhood.
Thank you.
And I thank you, and everybody thanks you too.
Thank you very much. Oh, wait, actually, speaking of Steve Bloom, I'm really excited. I'm actually going to be working with Steve on a project of my own that I'm co-producing, co-writing, and co-starring in called Goblins, which is based on the really amazing webcomic of the same name by Terrell Hunt. If any of you are D&D people or anything, you have to check it out, goblinscomic.org, it's amazing. But we're turning that into an animated series, and we've got such an incredible cast. We've got Steve Bloom, Billy West, Maurice LaMarche, Matthew Mercer, Jennifer Hale, let's see, Tara Strong. else? I'm forgetting. Oh, and Jim Cummings. As well as me and my co-producing partner Matt King. We're also doing voices, and we were able to raise crowdfunding. Hey, there you go. Raise our money last December for a crowdfunding campaign to create a 5-minute trailer so that we can sell the series. And it's hard work, but it's so much fun. It's so much fun. But yeah, if anybody is interested, go to goblinsanimated.com and check it out. Sorry.
Plug away.
May the 4th be with you. How did you develop Kid Fisto's voice for the Clone Wars?
The way I remember it, they brought me in because, and this is a really weird thing, a friend of mine, Gary Anthony Williams, who's an incredibly talented voice actor, on-camera actor, and improviser, was originally doing the show, originally cast, and I think he was sort of, doing a deep, heroic Jedi voice. And Kid Fisto, the Jedi who smiles. But Gary was also working on Boston Legal, and his schedule wouldn't permit him to be available to do it, so they recast it. And I think at that point, they came up with the concept, I think it was George Lucas's idea, it's like he wanted all of the aquatic beings to have a sort of islandy feel. The way the Naboo have that, they were all doing, Jamaican or whatever. Or some sort of Caribbean feel. He wanted a similar feel for the Nautilus. And so I'm like, well, I can do Caribbean. And so we began with a heroic voice and added just a touch of the Caribbean, and it seemed to work. It was also nice because the character hadn't spoken in the movies, so I didn't have to copy anybody. Although I ended up doing that too in the Clone Wars.
You did a good job with Bale.
Well, Senator Bail Organa, have the protocol droid's mind wiped. My wife and I have always wanted a girl.
Thank you.
First, it's an honor.
Wow, I better start answering these questions quicker. Huh? Yeah, go ahead.
It's an honor to meet you. I grew up with both Futurama and Samurai Jack, and
Then you have very good taste, man.
it was a sad day when we lost Uncle Ayo, aka Aku.
Yeah.
I was just wondering what was it like working with Aku himself.
Mako was incredible. I mean, it's rare that you get to work with somebody of that level of talent for that amount of time. And he taught me things. I remember soon after we started the series, because I knew Mako at that point mostly from, as the narrator of the Conan movie, the first Conan the Barbarian, which I always thought was brilliant. It's like, okay, you got Arnold Schwarzenegger in his first movie, he can barely talk. And what he says you can't understand. But we have a hero who you can't understand, let's get a narrator who you can barely understand. Get people's ears used to, so after you heard this, there was Conan the Barbarian. Then all of a sudden, this doesn't sound so bad to you, does it? But no, Mako was just a joy. I mean, he had started on Broadway, in films, television, he had done it all. And it was really, really sad. I first heard he was sick because we had finished Samurai Jack, for many years at that point. When I got called in for a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie, where he was the voice of Splinter, and they said, "Yeah, we're dubbing this over." I'm like, "Wait, that's Mako. Why are you?" He's like, "Well, he's gotten sick and he doesn't sound like himself anymore." So I was actually hired to double for him as Splinter. And it was, and I did not envy Greg Baldwin having to come in and fill his shoes as Aku, just because what he did with that character was so just emblematic. And I don't know, Greg did an amazing job, didn't he? And it was a combination of how much he sounded like him, but also how he wasn't focused on imitating him as much as he was playing the same character. And there was a day where we were recording this season 5 Samurai Jack, and Mako's daughter came to the recording session. She was visiting from out of town, and she brought her son, who is named Mako, after her father. And it was just like, oh God. And I don't think anybody told Greg before he got there. So basically he went into the recording studio and had to do the voice of this man in front of his daughter. And I remember looking through the glass at Mako's daughter, and when Greg was talking, she just sort of closed her eyes and was just listening to his voice. And afterwards she came out and she thanked him. And it was really moving.
Thank you. You can fly.
No, jump good.
Thank you. I did not answer that any quicker. Sorry.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
So this is a two-part question. So recently, Hank Azaria and The Simpsons have sort of come under fire for the character of Apu. What is your reaction to that as a voice actor? That's the first part. And secondly, as somebody who provides the voice of a character that you don't sort of share a race ethnicity with, how do you sort of toe the line between an honest portrayal of that character and not making it a caricature?
Well, as far as the general idea of casting cross-racially, there are two aspects to it. There's the creative aspect, which, in a perfect world, it shouldn't matter what an actor looks like to play a part. A voice has no color, you know? It doesn't. I mean, I've had people that I've spoken to on the phone who did not believe that I was African American. You know? It's like, well, I'm not gonna change the way I talk for your perception of, I mean, sure, I could lower my voice and drop some G's off my words just so you understand, so you feel that your vision of whatever it is matches better. But screw you. You know? And as actors, our job is not to live the life of the character. Our job is to portray the character believably for an audience, to bring it to life. And only part of that is the performance. The other part is the writing and just the general context. Now, that's the creative side. The other side is the pragmatic side. And that includes both history and day-to-day life. The fact of the matter is, the vast majority of parts in anything are for white guys. So, if you do cross-racial casting in that direction, then you're furthering inequity. You know? It's like, wait a minute, the white guys got all the parts anyway, now they gonna take the non-white parts? You know, and with, you know, sort of, for lack of a better term, for blackface or yellowface, you know, parts cast as, you know, black characters or, you know, Asian characters, there is also an undeniable history that you cannot ignore. Those portrayals have in the past been used negatively, you know. So it's only in recent years that people have become conscious of it and in fact stood up for it. I mean, the black community has been, you know, vocal about the fact of its representation for a while now. To the point where there have been times where black actors got put out of work. I mean, the Amos and Andy series in the 50s. There were like 20 black actors who got put out of work by black folks protesting. And as far as, when Samurai Jack was cast, I remember thinking, I wonder what, you know, I do know that there were actors. Actually, I didn't see any white actors. I did see Asian actors auditioning, because I know my friend James C. also auditioned. And as an actor, it's not your choice. I mean, there was a controversy a couple of years ago with Uncharted, where Laura Bailey was cast as a South African woman, and then they made the character a black South African woman, and didn't recast it. Now, I don't put that on Laura. I put that on the producers, who don't take responsibility for the representation, and understand that a black South African woman and a white South African woman are probably not going to sound the same, you know? As far as the portrayals of, you know, characters, I've known white actors who can well and believably portray black characters. And again, in a perfect world where representation was equal and job opportunities were equal, got no problem with that. I mean, you know, I think John DiMaggio probably plays more black characters on Futurama than I do. But, I mean, when I say black, I put that in quotes, black sounding, you know. But I'm also cast as, you know, other characters as well. So, you know, that playing field is a little evened in a way. The question comes down to process and intention of the people doing it. You know, are you casting someone because they do what you think is a funny Asian accent, or are you casting someone, you know, who creates the character, and is that characterization that you're creating responsible and high quality? I mean, I suppose it could. I like to think that the portrayal of Samurai Jack that we did in terms culturally in the show, visually, and vocally, was positive and authentic in a way. I've said this a couple of times before, but prior to that, I'd worked with a predominantly Japanese-American improv group called Cold Tofu. And I remember noticing certain vocal elements that were similar among second-generation Japanese Americans. You know, people who had grown up hearing Japanese spoken in the home. And that was something that I borrowed from in playing Samurai Jack. Because they didn't want a pronounced accent. They wanted it very light, but because he was, you know, starting the story in ancient Japan, they wanted something that tied the character to his root. So what we decided on was a certain very subtle kind of pronunciations, you know, and I don't know. Of course, it's arguable, because I think there were. I didn't make the decision, so I'm hoping that part of the decision was this sounds real, this sounds authentic, but you know, like with the Apu thing, I don't know that today I would be able to get the part. But also, that's a combination of the Asian community being more vocal about issues of representation, and I believe a larger pool, you know, available in the 16 years since, you know, in terms of available voice actors. So, we'll see. Thank you. I'm going slower, in fact.
Hopefully mine won't be a hard question.
13. Damn it, that's not a math question. All right, go ahead.
So, you've been a part of so many great series. Listening to your voice is a delight. I love every time I clock it.
Thank you for only listening to the good stuff.
No, that's Phil LaMarr. I'm so excited. So, I know that a lot of series that you've been a part of, maybe some of us feel have ended before their time. If there was any one that you personally could choose to bring back, what would it be?
One?
You only get one.
Why? I want all the jobs back. I want Green Lantern on Monday. I want Static on Tuesday. I want Foster's on Wednesday.
Yeah, in a perfect world.
Yeah, exactly. On a perfect cable channel. Wait, I say cable, not streaming, because streaming ain't got no residuals. I can't live on that. I don't know. I cannot pick one because, and I'm happy that I can't pick one because I've been incredibly fortunate to work on a number of shows. One, that I would watch. Two, that I could recommend. And three, with people that I would happily go back into the booth with, you know, week after week, year after year. I mean, I've gotten to work with Matt Groening, Gidney Tartakovsky, you know, Lauren Faust, Craig McCracken, you know, Bruce Timm, Dwayne McDuff, like, you know, you want me to, no, Bruce is still alive.
I know.
So there's just no,
Fangirl.
oh, thank you, Fangirl. Woo! I can't pick. I can't.
That's fair, I couldn't either.
Thank you.
Though also, it killed me when Sig fell off the cliff.
Oh, come on, Sherry. Don't feel so bad.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming out here.
Oh, my pleasure.
One of my favorite game series was the Mercenary series, which...
Oh, Chris, yeah.
Yeah, which in contrast to Metal Gear Solid was obviously a lot more explosion-filled.
Exactly.
What was it like to work with Jennifer Hale and Peter Stormare?
Well, unfortunately, with video games, you almost never work with anybody else. One of the few times I did get to record with another person was on Metal Gear.
Okay.
In the first, in Metal Gear 2, a bunch of us actually recorded together. That's where I first met David Hayter. And on Metal Gear 4, Quentin Flynn and I got to record together. Because Raiden and Vamp had so many sequences that were like really...
Susan, will you be the one to finally kill me?
You know, so that was great. But, I mean, I've known Jen since Class of 3000, maybe? That was a Cartoon Network series that we did with Andre 3000. Well, I played Philly Phil. But we did not get to work together on that.
Okay. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you. Hey.
Well, hello.
Why, hello.
I think he's trying to pick me up.
Okay, I'm fine. No, I'm no, first of all, I love playing as Aquaman, so thank you for making him badass. Also, thank you for making Kotal Khan badass in Mortal Kombat X.
Well, it's not hard to be badass.
But the Khan is, of course, more badass than anyone else.
I'm going to go back. A lot of people obviously know you for your voice acting over the years, and which has been wonderful and has been a part of my life. I'm going to go way back, though, because I remember you doing a few episodes of the British version of Whose Line Is It Anyway? Years ago. And I don't know if anybody else remembers that or not, but you were hysterical, and I loved it.
Thanks.
And then doing that and then doing Mad TV, obviously.
Right.
Now that you do so much voice, do you still get a chance ever to kind of stretch the improv/sketch comedy and what you do to keep up with it? Because obviously you got a great personality for it, man.
Oh, thanks. No, actually, I'm really fortunate. I do a show in LA regularly, every month. We have a show called The Black Version. It's an improv show. It's an all-black cast, and we take a suggestion from the audience of a classic or iconic movie, and then we improvise the black version of that movie. Like we got Jaws. And the black version was Catfish. We did Pretty Woman. Black version was A Hot Mess. You know, so it's a lot of fun, and it's an incredible group of improvisers.
Awesome. Hey, babe, if you're listening, we're going to LA to see this. Thank you.
You have to. Thank you.
Well, this was at least important enough for me to skip out on the cryptid panel, so I might as well ask.
Please do.
Okay, so has anybody ever asked you to do the preacher bot voice for their wedding?
No. Which is...
Well, now, we are gathered here to join this human and this robot in robosexual union. Oh, now we know it's a sin, but it's one of the good kind. There you go. Back to robot hell with you.
All right, so I was going to ask a Green Lantern question, but you brought up Goblin, so I got to ask, are we going to see you on Critical Role again this season, maybe, possibly, hopefully?
I don't know. When we bring Matt Mercer in to record, I'm going to try to hit him up. It's like, hey, can I get back on the show? Can I? I would love to. I'd have so much fun. And all of those guys are just such nice people, too. Sure, they do. Can you work that crow?
I'm Tom. I've been wondering, how often do you get asked about John White from Infamous? He's my favorite NPC of all time.
Oh, nice. Not often. Not often. Although, the weird thing about Infamous, we did the first game, and John was just sort of John, the character. And then it becomes revealed to be the Beast, which I don't think was in my script. Because, video game scripts are not scripts. They're just a whole bunch of lines, not necessarily in any order. So when you as an actor, when you record a video game, you have generally very little idea what's going on. But of course, by the time we did Infamous 2, I knew what was going on. And they asked me if I wanted to do the motion capture, and I didn't really know much about it. I'm like, well, video games are roughly 10 times as hard as animation, so I'm guessing mocap is going to be 10 times as hard as on-camera acting, so yeah, no thanks. But when we went in to record, they said, okay, we're going to play you the dialogue as done by the motion capture actor so that you know the timing, so the lines sort of fit in. And I listened to it, I'm like, I know that guy. It was my buddy Kari Payton. Well before I was post-Teen Titans, pre-Walking Dead. He had done the motion capture for John in Infamous 2. And I'm like, wow, I'm glad they didn't just give him my part. Exactly. Because he did beat me out for Aqualad. Oh. I auditioned for Young Justice and thought I did a really good job until I heard him do it. I'm like, yeah, okay, no, that's it. That's the voice.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey. So I have a question. So you played a lot of really famous characters, like you did Marvin in Pulp Fiction, and you played Calvin Curtis on stage, and you've done a lot of cult characters like Hermes and all that.
Right.
I gotta ask you, how does it feel to be such a part of pulp culture as a whole, being so embedded in that history?
Like I said before, I feel incredibly fortunate. I mean, like you said, I've gotten to be part of, the Pee-wee, I've gotten to live in Puppet Land, which gave me a chance to go perform on Broadway. I've gotten to be in an Oscar-winning movie. I've gotten to be part of the Star Wars franchise, Metal Gear, Mortal Kombat. That was really a dream come true to be part of that, I have a character who performs a fatality, and I think as an actor, to have any one of those in a career would be a win. To have more than a handful, and to have it be recognized. Because a lot of times, we do stuff that's really good, but it doesn't necessarily get recognized, But to have those things be recognized, whether it's on a cult basis, like Foster's or Futurama, to know that it's good and to know that other people think it's good is really just a blessing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Phil.
Sorry, drinking.
Hey, I have a quick question.
I don't think so.
I do. The UBS guy. What was your favorite sketch from him?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I would say there are probably 3 top ones. because that's a character I created on stage when I was a member of the Groundlings years and years ago, back in the 90s. The very first UPS Guy sketch is one of my favorites because it's the sketch that I did on stage. It's where I created the character. And I did it with Mary Shear, who, you know, we did it on stage and then we got to do it on camera, you know. So that holds a special place in my heart. There was also one with Mitch Pileggi, where, because Mitch Pileggi from the X-Files was a friend of mine, and I asked him if he would do a sketch with me, and he did. And it was one that I wrote, and it was basically about an awkward fan encounter, where somebody comes up to him and goes, "Oh, hey, do I know you?" I'm an actor." "Oh, what have you been on?" And like forces him to list out his entire resume, and then goes, "No, that's not it." And like doesn't believe him when he says what it is, and just basically is incredibly obnoxious. And then the other one might be the video store sketch where Jack has to go buy like XXX videos for a bachelor party and is incredibly embarrassed. But I think maybe that's only my favorite because that's the only one I ever got writing credit for.
Well, that's fun.
Thanks. All right, well, I'll try to get through as many as possible.
So, I was wondering, why did Evil Con Carne not catch on? Because you had Grim and Evil and split in two.
I know, that was the first time I've ever been half canceled. Yeah, we did a show called The Grim and Evil, which was Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy and Evil Con Carne. Created by my friend Maxwell Adams, who's just a genius. And yeah, our part was, it was me, Gray Delisle, Armin Shimmerman, and Frank Welker doing Evil Con Carne, where
I was Hector Con Carne, the disembodied brain of an evil scientist trying to take over the world.
back then cartoons had a lot of people trying to take over the world. And Frank Welker was the bear. The bear didn't talk, Frank just made noises. And was brilliant. But yes, our half of the cartoon got canceled, but the Billy and Mandy part stayed on. So Gray still got her damn check. Double dipping, bitch. But Maxwell Adams was great because he then pulled me in and let me do do Billy and Mandy as Dracula. Dracula don't suck. Dracula scrape and lick. Which really, I think, if they had done that with Twilight, it would have been a much bigger success. Hello.
1 second, this is too tall for me.
Very much so.
Yeah. Howdy.
Howdy.
Yes. Okay. I have a scenario type question for you.
Okay.
It takes place at Planet Express, okay? So, Bender's been acting weird a lot lately. Nobody knows what's going on, nobody knows what's quite right. All of a sudden, Hermes and Bender are in a room alone. Bender's...
Is this gonna get kinky?
No. But all
You to roll a slash, Vic?
No.
What does that mean?
Sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
No more sin, please. Okay, so all of a sudden, Hermes and Bender are alone in the room. And all of a sudden, Bender's torso opens up, and out flops out the folded, crushed body of Sideshow Bob. And now he's trying to kill Hermes. How would Hermes respond to that?
Get away from me, you stinking clone! You smell like the 21st century!
Thank you very much.
Thank you. She's a writer. Are we out of time? Thank you guys so much for coming out. And especially those of you who are now going to be in the back of the line for the burlesque show. Have fun. Are we doing anything else tomorrow?
Yeah, tomorrow you have the voice actor panel at 11:30. Then you have an autograph session at 1:30 in the exhibit hall. And then finally at 10:30 tomorrow night, Guests Against Humanity.
Don't bring the kids.
No recording devices.
Thank you all. Good night.